All right, over the next few minutes, we're going to change the filter and our sediment filter for our Pelican water filtration system. It's a very easy process. All you need is a filter, one O-ring, some silicone O-ring grease. Make sure you don't buy the plumber's grease because it's not designed for O-rings. And of course, a wrench to take off your filter cartridge. All right, before you start removing your filter, you want to bypass the flow through your carbon filter and your salt-free conditioner. The reason you're going to do this is you're going to have a lot of air when you put your new filter in, and you want to pipe that air through either of these filters. So all you need to do is just turn your valves to the off position. And that's it. Now it bypasses the water through these valves, so it does not utilize the filters. We'll turn these back on when we're done with the filter change. If you watched my video on how to install your Pelican water filtration system, you might remember me saying to put in these isolation valves on either side of your sediment filter. This is going to make changing the filter a whole lot easier. I don't have to run out to the street and turn off my main water supply. The one thing you do need to do is depressurize your system, otherwise you're never going to get this cartridge off. All you need to do is turn your main water line off, go into your house and turn a water faucet on just for a 10-15 seconds to reduce some of the pressure. Then we're going to turn off this valve here. That's going to isolate this system. Now that I have my system depressurized, I can turn off this last shut-off valve. The reason I put this one on here is when I take this small tank off, I don't have the water from the house bleeding back through the entire system. To remove the filter, just put your filter wrench on and give it a little twist, and it will come right off. This is the reason why we put the silicone O-ring grease on here, is to make that removal much easier. Water's going to come out. You might put a catch bucket down here. Just keep things a little cleaner in your wherever you have your filter installed. If you're wondering if these sediment filters do a good job, there's before and after about 6 months. Now, how you grease your O-ring is just take some of your silicone grease and smear it down in this groove all the way around there. Some of the stuff comes in a tube, might be a little easier. Mine came in a little can here, and it's not the easiest in the world, but it takes all of 10 seconds to do. Now that you have that done, very carefully take your O-ring and slide it in that groove. And then once you're done, just take a little bit of the extra grease that you have and just slide the very top of that ring. That way you're going to get a nice sealed connection, and it'll be nice and slippery for when you take it off the next time. Alright, next, just take your filter, carefully drop it in the cartridge or the tank, and just screw it right back in place. Now, if it doesn't screw this easy, you might be cross-threading this thing. Back it off and do it properly. If it doesn't screw on that easily, you've done something wrong. Get it snug with your hands, and then get your wrench and give it a good tighten here. You're going to have a lot of pressure on this, and you don't want this thing leaking. I'm going to crank this thing down, not as hard as I can go, but pretty good, pretty tight, so it won't leak. Now, this cartridge is full of air here, and we want to bleed all that air out before we turn the valves on back to our carbon filter and our salt-free conditioner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these valves back on. I'm going to go in the house. I'm going to turn a water faucet on or something on the cold side and let all the air bleed through the system. When it stops sputtering, then you know you have all the air out of your system. The reason I'm using the cold side is I don't want this air going through my hot water tanks. So let's go ahead and turn the valves on. Then I'm going to go and turn a faucet on. And you can see the system charging itself. And now it's returning water back to the house. Let's go turn a faucet on. All right, now that I've bled the air from my system, took all of about 20 or 30 seconds to do. Check for leaks here. Dry this thing off and feel around for any water bubbles that might be forming. If your O-ring is leaking, you didn't get your blue canister on tight enough. What you'll need to do, you'll need to shut your main valve off. You'll need to depressurize your system again, and you need to crank this blue canister down a little bit tighter and turn everything back on. The reason you have to depressurize your system is there's right now 90 PSI against that, and you multiply that times a square inch, there's a huge amount of force. You're never going to be able to get this thing on or off with your system pressurized. System looks like it's nice and dry. Let's go ahead and turn our carbon filter and salt-free conditioner back on. All right, last step here is turn your bypass valves back on. There's a little arrows on here. If you forget or don't know or don't have your owner's manual, just turn them the right direction. And you're done. All right, so in about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, we changed our pre-sediment filter and kept our Pelican system running like new. Thanks for watching.